We are now on Facebook. Just be sure it goes through, and we should be on there, or just about there. Okay. So we are now here and on Facebook. I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes for anyone else to join us before we get started. So the story I have tonight is a little bit lengthy, with an introduction and a background for it as well. So it will be interesting to see what you think about it afterwards. I had to look at it a second week before I decided if it was one I wanted to share or not, but I think it's a good one to share for us to think about. And it's definitely in the category of a story that's more for adults. So, some ride both worlds. This one is probably a little bit heavier, except I think maybe it just will be understood differently by different ages. So I want to welcome everybody, and then we'll get started with the story and Havdalah. So I decided to put out my different spice boxes and things behind me tonight. So I've gotten brave and moved to different rooms in my house. Okay. So I hope everyone's Shabbat was pleasant and an enjoyable one. And as we wind down, the story I want to share with you is attributed to Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman. He was a Rosh Yeshiva in Europe and was killed in the Kovno ghetto in 1941. He was in the United States, and he went back to Poland in 1939 to care for her students during the difficult times. So the story is shared because when the American troops were liberating the death camps, First Lieutenant Meyer Birnbaum, an Orthodox Jew, was there with some of the survivors. And one day in Buchenwald, a gaunt Jewish survivor approached him and asked him if he'd ever heard of Rabbi Elchanan. And Lieutenant Birnbaum told him that he had indeed known of him from his United States visit in 1938-39. So this fellow survivor had been with Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman in his final days in Kovno, in the ghetto. And during that period of time, some of the others in the ghetto asked the rabbi to explain why these horrors were befalling them. And this is the parable that Rabbi Elchanan responded with to these people in the Kovno ghetto. Once a city-fied man who knew next to nothing about agriculture approached a farmer, and he asked to be taught about farming. The farmer led him to his field and asked him what he saw. And he said, "Beautiful land, lush grass, so pleasing to the eye." And then stood absolutely aghast as the farmer plowed the grass under and turned the flowing green field into a choppy mess of brown ditches. And the man demanded, "Why did you ruin the field?" And the farmer said, "Patience, you'll see." And the farmer then showed his guest a sack full of plump kernels of wheat, and he said, "Tell me what you see." And the visitor described nutritious, inviting grain, and then he watched in shock as the farmers seemed to ignore their beauty and their wholesomeness, and as he walked up and down the furrows, dropped the kernels and covered them with clods of soil. "Are you out of your mind?" the man demanded. "First you destroy the field, and now you ruin the kernels?" "Patience, you'll see." So time passed, and once again the farmer took his guest out to the field, and this time they saw endless straight rows of green stalks sprouting up from each of the furrows, and the visitor smiled. "I apologize, my friend. Now I understand what you are doing. The field is indeed more beautiful than ever. The art of farming is truly remarkable. No, said the farmer, we're not done yet. Patience. So more time went by, and the stalks were fully grown, and the farmer came with great gusto and a large, sharp sickle, and vigorously he chopped them all down as the visitor watched in horror. The orderly field became a vast mound of destruction, and in time, he was somewhat relieved to see the farmer bound those fallen stalks into large bundles, and they decorated the field with them. But later he took the bundles to another place and he started to beat and crush them until they just came into a mass of straw and loose kernels. And then he separated the kernels from the chaff and he piled them in a huge hill. Throughout, he told his protesting visitor from the city, "We are not done. We must be patient." Patience. The farmer came with his wagon and piled it high with grain, driving it to the mill. And there the beautiful grain was ground into formless, choking dust. You've taken grain and made it into dirt. Patience. Patience. And then the farmer put the dust into sacks and took it back home. And he mixed some with water so that at least to the visitor it looked like white mud. And the farmer shaped the mud into a loaf, a beautifully formed one at that, which made the visitor smile, but not for long because then the farmer fired up a raging oven and he put the loaf in it. Now I know you are insane. After all this hard work, you're going to burn it? Certainly, I've told you, you must be patient. So finally, the farmer opened the oven and removed the freshly baked bread, crusty and brown, with an aroma that made the visitor's mouth water. And finally, the farmer, when he opened it up and his mouth watered, the farmer then said, "Come," and led him to the kitchen where they washed their hands, said the blessing, cut the bread, and enjoyed several buttered slices. And the farmer said, "Now you understand." So here's Paula.
Beautiful.
At least as much as I can show you of it. There's a piece already sliced here because I have company here who's been very interested. I've had it here the whole time. So this story is in a book of readings actually for Tisha B'Av in terms of the trying, difficult times, and sometimes things take a long time to change. And as we are in that kind of a time ourselves in many ways and wondering, what's going to happen next? How do we continue? I hope that as we can remember all of the process that goes in to the bread as we have here, from starting with just the field, to remember that sometimes it takes a long time to work towards things and for things to change. Any other thoughts or comments about the story? There are probably other ways to understand it as well, but I thought it was a good one for food for thought. Okay. We are going to continue with Havdalah. And as I have done other weeks, I'm going to put the blessings and things in the chat box. So you have the words for not just the Havdalah blessings, but also Eliyahu Hanavi and Shavua Tov. I feel strongly that it's not fair to do things that we don't provide everyone the tools they need to be able to participate. And this way you have that in the chat to be free to participate totally. So I have everything in front of me except the Kiddush. Okay, I'm going to move so we can all see one another. And we'll light our candles. I'll hopefully light my candle. Okay. And I will ask you to mute at this point, and then we can unmute a little bit later.
Mute.
Okay, I think everybody's muted now. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim borei minei v'samim ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh borei meorei ha'esh ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil bein kodesh l'chol bein or l'choshech bein yom hashvi'i l'sheshet yemei Hamaseh Baruch atah Adonai Hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 May God give us the understanding to reject the unholy and choose the way of holiness. May God, who separates the holy from the profane, inspire us to perform these acts of Havdalah. We can sip our wine or juice. And then be ready to put our candles out in there. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimera B'Yameinu, Yavo Eleinu. Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. I invite you to unmute so that we may sing together Shavua Tov and wishing one another a good week. Shavua Tov, 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 a good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. Wish you a Shavua Tov and a good week, and may it be a good one for all of us and always, and may it be for the world around us as well.
Yes. Shavua Tov, everyone.
Shavua Tov.